What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome to my first eyeshadow palette ranking of 2025. And all of these palettes are actually the rest of the ones that I tried in 2024. So I spent yesterday playing with these palettes, creating some looks, putting shades on, taking them off, just kind of testing them out so I could get my final thoughts, put these in a video, and just move forward into the palettes that are actually coming out in 2025. So we have got 18 palettes sitting here in front of me, and honestly, every single one of them, the quality is really great. I don't have any issues. It comes down to nitpicky little things as far as preferences of formula, color story, and what I'm going to be reaching for. So I will have all these palettes linked and listed down below in the description box if they are available to do so, as well as everything that I am wearing on my face today. I did film this look. It should already be up as a short. If it's not already, it will be going up very soon. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this because like I said, we've got 18 eyeshadow palettes to chat about. Alright y'all, so kicking off this ranking at number 18 is going to be the Oden's Eye Rosy Jingle palette. This was one of the two holiday palettes that they released for 2024, and this is a really pretty color story, but for me personally, it's a little too rosy, it's a little too one note. It doesn't have as much depth in here as I prefer. We do have the shade down here, but I don't feel like it really fits in with the rest of the color story in here. I wish it had been maybe a navy blue shade or maybe like a deep purple shade, a black, something like that. I feel like this brown just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. I did find the mattes in here to be a little different from what I am used to from Oden's Eye. Not that they were difficult to work with, I just felt like I had to build up a little bit more, and it could be because these are lighter shades. But my biggest issue with this palette, and the reason it's coming in last place, not only because it's a color story that I don't really resonate with quite as much as these other ones, but these shimmers creased on me, and I've never had that issue from Oden's Eye before, so I don't know if they changed their formula in here, because I know that a lot of people are having their shimmers dry out on them. I am starting to know quality issues. I have been very vocal with that in my recent videos, but it just doesn't quite work for me as well as I want it to, and I do have very oily eyelids, so that is something to keep in mind. I think if you have drier eyelids, this might be okay, but even when I go in with my NYX glitter primer and I spray my brush, and even if I don't spray my brush, I still get creasing with these. It does tap out, so it's not a huge deal, but it is kind of a reason that I am putting it in last place. But coming in at number 17 is going to be that palette's counterpart, the Silvery Bliss palette, and I put this one a little bit higher because I like the color story in here better. There's more depth in here. It does go a little bit lighter. Personally, I like these two palettes kind of combined together because I can get the depth that I want out of it. But again, I have these shimmers crease on me, so that's why these two are coming in last place, not because they're not beautiful color stories and not because the quality is bad, but for whatever reason the shimmers are creasing on me, so they're just not favorites of mine. I like the palettes ahead of these just a little bit better. Coming in at number 16 is my Chanel Quad. This one is in the shade Divination, and I really enjoyed playing with this. I thought the quality in here was really nice. The mattes blended out really nicely. They were a little bit more pigmented than what I was expecting. Not that that's a bad thing. I was just expecting them to be a little bit more sheer, so it was a nice surprise when I didn't have to build up quite as much, but they did build up beautifully. They blended out beautifully, but this is going to be a matte palette, and I don't really reach for matte palettes on their own. I find them to be great companion palettes. So I definitely want to try more from the brand that has shimmers and things like that in it, maybe some satins, maybe a little bit more variety. But I do think this is going to be a really good palette if you like an all matte look, or maybe you're just looking for some pops of colors to bring in your collection as a companion palette. I did really enjoy this one. Coming in at number 15 is the Muse palette from Lisa Eldridge, and this is actually my first time trying the brand, and I did like the formula. I don't know if it's going to be my favorite luxury formula, although she does have other color stories that have different formulas in them, so maybe I would like one of those better, but based off of this one, it's not my favorite formula. I didn't have any issues as far as like fallout, patching, creasing, anything like that goes, but I did have to work just a little bit harder to build up the pigmentation on my lid, which I think is the idea behind this palette, as it is with most luxury brands. They're meant to be a little bit more softer, a little bit more sophisticated, which is fine. There's definitely a part of me that loves that, but compared to some other luxury brands that I have in my collection, and you will see later on in this video, it just wasn't an absolute favorite for me. But one thing that I did really love about this palette is not only are all these shades in here magnetic, but if you go through one of them, you can repurchase just that one shade. So you don't have to repurchase an entire palette palette when you run through one of the shades, which I thought was completely genius. More brands need to do that. And the other thing that I really liked was the versatility with this palette. You can really do a soft look. This one right here is a little bit more of a satin, so it's not going to be very punchy and in your face as far as the sparkle goes. But if you start to build up these shades on top of it, you get more and more sparkle on the lid. So you can really use this for every day. You can kind of build it up, take you into a glam night look. There's a lot of possibility with this one. I just feel like I need to try more from the brand, more of her formulas to really get a feel on it, but not a bad palette, just not an absolute favorite. Coming in at number 14, we have the DD Signature Rosy Bell Jingle palette, and this is beautiful. I think the formula in here is really, really nice. I don't know if it's a formula that I absolutely love. There's nothing wrong with it. I just love the formulas ahead of this one a little bit better, and I think there was something going on with my eyes the day that I tried this one and the Classic Autumn palette, because I had a heck of a time getting these shades to adhere to my lid and not patching and blending out the way that I wanted them to. But I've tried both of these palettes several times since that video, and I haven't had any issues. But this one comes down to a color story for me. It's just not one that I am crazy in love with. I do think it's really pretty, and it's one that is definitely going to get me into that holiday mood. But as for the rest of the year, I just don't see it being one that I would reach into, because you are definitely going to get either a monochromatic look or something very red and green, and that's just not an absolute favorite of mine. Nothing wrong with the quality. It's beautiful. The shimmers in here are incredibly beautiful on the lid. I didn't get any creasing, no patching, skipping, fallout, anything like that, with the exception of the first time I tried this palette. It's just one that it's not a favorite color story of mine. Coming in at number 13, we have the Glam Light X Trick or Treat palette. I know it's January and we're still talking about spooky season releases, but it's been kind of a hectic end of the year, but I really enjoyed this one. I think this is the good Glam Light formula. It's the formula that I know and love. The shimmers in here are sparkly and reflective. They're not super shifty or anything like that on the lid, but they're nice and smooth and they apply beautifully. And the mattes in here, they blended out beautifully, and I really love the selection in here. But the reason that I'm putting it where I am is because you're pretty much going to get like an orange autumnal leaning look, which is fine. It's something that I absolutely love that time of year, but outside of that, I don't really reach for these shades too much, but I do really like the variety in here. I like the gradient that we have down here. I do kind of wish that these two shades had been switched just a little bit. It kind of bothers me, but I love that we got a black in here, and I just think this is a really pretty palette. I had a good time playing with it, and Glam Light kind of killed this launch. And coming in at our number 12 spot is the Classic Autumn palette from DD Signature, and I really like the color story in here. These are the kind of shades that I like to reach for year round. They have sort of that grungy autumnal feel to them, and this was actually the palette that I had more issues with the mattes than the Jingle Bell Ruby palette. Again, I don't know what it was. We will never know what was going on with my lid that day, but I've played with it several times since then. In fact, I just played with it again yesterday, and I didn't have any issues. They blended out beautifully. The pigmentation was there. No patching, skipping, fallout, or anything like that. So the world may never know what was going on with my lids that day, but that is exactly why I like to keep testing out palettes beyond that first video, because you never know. It could be the brushes, it could be the weather, it could be something going on with your skin, the primer, the world never knows. But this is a beautiful color story. The shimmers in here are incredibly sparkly, smooth, and just beautiful on the lid. But the reason that I'm putting this one where it is because it is very mid-tone and deep, and for my fair skin, I need something a little bit lighter to bring in with this palette. And that's one thing that I have noticed about DD Signature, is that her formula and her shades are definitely geared more towards deeper skin tones, which is perfectly fine. There's plenty of palettes out there geared more towards fair skin tones that deeper ones can't use, and I think that's one of the things that makes her brand such an incredible brand, because it is a woman of color owned brand, and I just love that she formulates it with that in mind. But for me personally, I need to bring in something else, so that's the only reason that it's going here. Otherwise, it would go a lot higher if it had just a little bit more depth to the palette. And coming in at number 11, we have the Wicked Widow Beauty Tales of Terror, a Haunting palette. I will never remember the name of this palette. That's a mouthful. And yes, we have another spooky release palette, but this is one that was a pre-order and I didn't get it until November, and then everything just kind of got messed around with the holidays, jury duty, and all of that. But this is a beautiful color story. I was really excited about it. I love the tones in here, but I feel like there's not as much variety in this palette as I personally would have wanted once I started getting into it and creating looks. look. So these two green shades right here are very close in pigmentation on the lid. Like there's not a whole lot of difference to them. And it's the same thing with these two purple shades right here. I feel like maybe one of them could have been a bit darker. Maybe we could have brought in like a blackened purple or something like that. Same thing with the greens. It would have been nice if one of them had been a little bit lighter, maybe brought in a little bit more variation to this palette. But as far as the formula goes, it is beautiful. I've had a really good time playing with it. I love the orange, green, and purple color story that they have going on. This shimmer shade up here, it is so beautiful. It is everything I want. It is the most sparkly, smooth chartreusey shade, and it is stunning on the lid and on the inner corner. But beautiful color story. I just wish there was a little bit more variety in this palette. That's really the only reason that it's coming in where it is. Alright y'all, so that brings us to our top 10 palettes, and kicking it off we have the Polar Lights palette from Menagerie Cosmetics. First of all, I think the packaging is adorable. I love the polar bear chomping on her snowball. She is just absolutely precious. But the color story in here I thought was beautiful. It is definitely more cool tone, wintry, pastel leaning, but there's a lot of variety when it comes to the looks that you can create with this palette. You can definitely do something light, something airy. You can take it a little bit smoky, do kind of blue-green leaning looks, but you can also take it a little bit more on the neutral side. If you go in with this shade and this one right here, it does have a little bit of a murky undertone to it, but if you blend it out just right, you can get a really pretty neutral look with this palette. And this green shade and this murky kind of golden green shade up here, I thought were very intriguing to add on to this color story, because you would think that they don't really go, but they actually do. And I was really impressed with the formula in here. This was the first time I had ever tried the brand. They have been on my radar for a really long time, but I found the mattes in here to be nice and pigmented, very easy to blend out and work with, and the shimmers in here I thought were absolutely beautiful as well, and I do really enjoy it. There's just not quite as much variety in this palette that I personally look for, although I do love a 9 pan. I feel like we could have maybe gotten just a smidge more from the 9 pan color story. Coming in at number 9, we have the Glamlite X Willy Wonka palette, and I feel like this one kind of flew under the radar, but I get it. Glamlite comes out with a gazillion collabs every single year, but I thought this one was really good. I love that the palette looks like a little chocolate bar. Their attention to detail is always impeccable when it comes to their collabs, but the formula in here is the good Glamlite formula that I know and love, very similar to the one in the Garfield palette and the Betty Boop palette that I love so much. The mattes were very pigmented, but they still kind of blend out, sheer out on the lid a little bit. They were very easy to work with, no patching, skipping, fallout, or anything like that. And the shimmers in here are so beautiful. They are reflective, they are sparkly. We've got some kind of shifty duochromes going on in here. There's no creasing on my lid or anything like that. And I really enjoyed the color story in here. I know you've got like a 9 pan neutral and a 9 pan purple palette over here, which can be a little bit boring for some if you don't like neutrals or purples, but for me personally, I think this is a really good color story. Now, you're not going to get a whole lot of variety when it comes to looks in here. You're either going to get purple brown or like a brown purple look. It kind of is what it is, but the formula in here is what's good, and I do really enjoy these shades, but that's why it's coming in where it is and not any higher. If it had a little bit more variety, it probably would have bumped it up a little bit more, but it is a good one if you're looking for some really pretty purples and neutrals. This is a good one to check out. Coming in at number 8, we have the Unearthly Cosmetics Not Normal Remastered palette. So the original version of this one was a 12 pan palette. Beautiful color story, very grungy, very green and purple leaning with some pops of yellows in it. But the brand decided to go ahead and reformulate it with their updated matte formula, kind of amp up the sparkles a little bit and expand the color story, and I do think it's beautiful. I think they did a really good job kind of picking the shades that they chose for this palette. The formula in here is incredible. It's the good Unearthly formula that we all know and love, and the shimmers in here I think are beautiful, but I will say there were some shimmers in the original palette that I did love a little bit more. I wish they had kind of kept the integrity of those and just amped up the sparkle a little bit, because a couple of these are a little bit different. They have shifts to them that the other ones didn't have. So for me, it kind of changes the color story a little bit, but not in a bad way so much. It's just a personal preference thing. I did declutter the other one because I do have this one, but I think they did a really good job with this one. I do really enjoy it. I just like the palettes ahead of this one a little bit better. Coming in at number 7, we have the Nomad Cosmetics Polar Express palette. And when I tell y'all that this one hit me right in the feels of the nostalgia, I am not kidding you. I grew up reading this book every single year at Christmas. My boys grew up with the movie. They watched it over and over when they were little, and we still watch it every single year. It's a favorite of ours. I know not everybody loves it, but I do, and I love Tom Hanks. He's one of my favorite actors. But the color story in here I think is beautiful. I think they captured the movie and the book perfectly. I love this row of neutrals over here, and we have these absolutely beautiful silvers over here. This one up here is so incredibly beautiful and sparkly as like a topper on the lid on the inner corner. I love the reds in here. This addition of the gold, we've got some taupes in here, and these blues right here are so beautiful. I wasn't really too sure about them when I first played with it, but the more I have, they look beautiful, especially paired with these browns over here. I love it, but I think they did a really good job. The formula in here is incredible. The shimmers are sparkly, they are reflective. They don't have any shifts or anything like that to them, but they just look beautiful on the eye, and I just love this one. I think they did a fantastic job with this palette. My number 6 palette is going to the Cosmic Beauty Sinister palette. So I want to warn you in case you haven't seen it at this point. I'm not sure if there's people still getting their mystery boxes and they haven't seen the inside of the palette yet, but I will let you know when I'm done showing it. But just in case you haven't seen it and you don't want to, you might want to look away right now. But this is the palette that did come out in the mystery box that they did this year, and it was the first time they did a mystery box, and this color story I think is so beautiful. I love the purples and the reds in here. You've got these really pretty grays up here, which are not my favorite, but I think they pair with this palette perfectly. Again, it's the formula I know and love from Cosmic Beauty. They have one of my absolute favorites. I love it so much. The mattes in here are very easy to work with. They're nice and pigmented. The shimmers in here are so beautiful, sparkly, and shifty on the lid, and somehow they managed to keep their price point on the pretty affordable side, especially compared to some of these other brands that we've been talking about. But the only thing about this palette that still kind of throws me off is this shade down here called Ghost. When I first opened up this palette, I thought it was an empty pan. I was like, oh, that's cute. They're giving us an empty pan. I didn't really think anything of it, but it's this really kind of tacky thing going on down here. It's like a gloss. It's very sticky. I am not a fan of it. I have tried it over top of an eyeshadow, and if you kind of pat it, it works a little bit. I kind of find that it moves the shadow around and does things, but if you mix the shadow into this, you can make a really cool kind of glossy gel eyeliner with it. This also works really well as a tacky base, which is something many of you recommended to me that I use. It's something I could kind of take it or leave it as far as this palette goes. I think it's cool, it's innovative, it's something a little bit different. I would have preferred that we had another shade down here, but I'm not that mad about it. It's just makeup, it's not that serious. It is what it is, and they did something fun with this palette. But like I said, I enjoy the color story in here, I enjoy the quality in here, and I think this is an absolutely beautiful palette, and they did a really good job with this one. All right, coming in at number 4, we have one of my wildest splurges of 2024, and it is this Hermes Quad eyeshadow palette. This is in the shade 06 Ombre Midori's. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. I apologize, but this is an expensive little quad. I did get mine on sale during Black Friday, and I love this formula. I hate that I love this formula because it is so expensive, and I could never see myself paying full price for this, but I will say if they ever go on sale again, I may snatch up 1 or 2 more color stories because I love the color stories that they have. They bring something colorful to the table, and the formula is impeccable. But let's chat about this one because I really enjoyed playing with this one. It's one of the palettes that I took with me on vacation to Disney World, and I only did my makeup once on that trip, and it wasn't even with this palette, but I have loved the look that I've created with this one. Honestly, I create the same look every single time I use this palette. It's just easy, it's effortless. The mattes in here are so beautiful. They are very pigmented for a luxury brand. I was really impressed with the quality of them, and the shimmers in here they're sparkly and they're reflective, but they're not anything that you would get from an indie brand. They're not going to be that reflective, but they are a little bit more punchy than what you're gonna find in most luxury brands, such as like the Tom Ford quads, the Chanel, well, the Lisa Eldridge and things like that, but they are so smooth and flattering on the eye. I think if you have a lot of texture, or maybe you're a little bit older, you have more mature lids, this would be a beautiful formula. But again, it's got a hefty price tag. So this is not me telling you you need to go out and spend that money on this palette. This is me telling you, if you have been eyeballing this and you've been curious about it, you won't be disappointed if you pick it up. It's an incredible formula, and I love this little palette, and I want to use the crap out of this palette because of how much I paid for it, and I think I absolutely can. Coming in at number 4, we have my Quint eyeshadow palette from Byredo. This one is in the shade Transcendent, and this is a limited edition color story, so I'm not 100% sure if it's still available, but if it is, it will be linked down below in the description box. But this formula, impeccable. It blew my socks off the first time that I tried it because it was very pigmented on the lid, which I wasn't expecting, but it was still easy to kind of manipulate and soften and blend out and make it to where it wasn't super harsh. I didn't have any issues as far as patching or skipping or creasing goes. I do get a little bit of fallout with these deeper shades, but it's generally only when I go in with like a dense pencil brush and try and do my lower lash line or deepen up the outer corner or something like that. Otherwise, I don't have any issues. Now, I know this doesn't look like much in the pan. These shimmers look like they're going to be very flat, and they are a little bit, I don't want to say flat. They're not super sparkly, but they do have a beautiful reflection to them. They're very flattering on the lid. They don't emphasize texture. They don't cling. They don't look gritty or anything like that. They are very smooth. So if you have more mature lids and you want a more amped up shimmer, these are going to be beautiful on your lids. And the matte shade in here, it's almost like a velvet matte. It's a little bit creamy, but it's not like a cream to powder formula. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's so sophisticated and beautiful on the lid, and it makes me even more sad that I didn't get the Mineralscapes palette they came out with last year. I had ordered that one when they restocked it, and immediately the brand sent me an email apologizing that the palette was out of stock, so they refunded me, and I was really sad. But now I'm even more sad. But you can bet your dollar that I will 100% be on the watch for when they come out with the palette this year, because I've heard the formula in that one is even better than this, and if that's true, sign me up. You've got a customer for life, because this is a beautiful formula and I'm really excited about it. So again, I'm not telling you that you need to go out and spend that kind of money on this palette, but if you have been interested in the formula, I don't think you'd be disappointed. All right, so that brings us to our top 3, and all of these are absolute favorites of mine. I have really been enjoying playing with them, but I had to kind of get a little nitpicky and rearrange them somehow. So coming in at number 3 is going to be the Viseart Ceraneuse Étendu palette. I'm sure I did not pronounce that correctly, but this color story is stunning. I did not expect to love it as much as I do. When you first look at it, you think it's going to be a very cool tone leaning color story, but you have these beautiful kind of neutral warm leaning shades in here that really bring a lot of depth and variety to this palette. This shimmer shade right here and this one right here are so insanely beautiful. Viseart has one of my absolute favorite formulas across the board, and I'm talking high-end luxury indie sea beauty, all of it. It is just fail proof. It's effortless. It's easy to work with. It is very buildable on the lid. It's a sophisticated formula, and it's just fuss free. It's one of those that whether you're new into makeup or you're experienced into makeup, it works every single time. Their color stories aren't always the best, and they didn't really have the best ones released last year in 2024. I almost said this year. I had to remind myself it's 2025, but this color story, stunning, absolutely beautiful. I have reached for this palette a lot more than I thought I was going to, and it was one of the ones that last minute I kind of snuck into my makeup that I was taking to Disney World, and unfortunately I never got around to it, but I have used it a couple of times since I've been home, just kind of running around and doing things and, you know, taking off makeup and throwing something on and things like that, and I just really enjoy this one. I think it's a beautiful palette from the brand. Coming in at number 2 is the Frozen Kiss palette from Gourmande Girls. In all transparency, I did receive this palette in PR. I am on their list. I do have a code with the brand, which is going to be Sarah. It will save you 10%, but I have loved the brand long before I was ever on their PR list, and this palette is no exception to that. I love the color story in here. The quality is fantastic, and honestly, I wasn't really sure what to expect whenever I got this palette. I was kind of thinking it was going to be like a pink and blue pastel palette with maybe some pops of colors in there, so I was pleasantly surprised when I opened up this palette and saw that we had a little bit like a grungy winter vibe going on here. You definitely have some pastels over here, some bright shades, but these shades over here, these deeper mid-tones, have a little bit of a murkiness to it that really brings a little bit of character to this palette. I've loved the looks that I've created with this one. I really love the variety in here. The shimmers are beautiful. They are sparkly. They are reflective. I don't get any patching, skipping, fallout, creasing, or anything like that with any of the shades in here. And I love that it's a matte heavy leaning palette, but it's not so matte heavy that it's too much and you don't have enough variety as far as the shimmers in here go. I've really enjoyed playing with this palette. I think it's a beautiful one. And like I said, formula in here is fantastic. And my number one palette is going to the Galactic Visitor palette from Singe Beauty. This is the brand that Angelica Nyqvist launched about 2 years ago at this point. I'm not exactly sure, but this is the first eyeshadow palette that she has brought us, and the formula in here is incredible. Honestly, I would expect nothing less from her. I found the mattes in here to be very creamy, very smooth, pigmented, easy to work with. They blend out like a dream. No patching, skipping, fallout, anything like that. And the shimmer formula in here is beautiful. It does have a little bit of a creaminess to it, but it's not so much creaminess where you have to worry about creasing on the lid, but it's just enough that it wants to stick to your lid. They look beautiful. I don't get any fallout with them. They don't crease on my lid, and they are so reflective and beautiful. And there are a couple of kind of shifty shimmer shades in here as well. I know this color story isn't for everybody, but for me, this is definitely an Angie color story. When I look at this one, I see her, and it really reminds me of the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette that she did with them a long time ago. I never got my hands on that one, but based off of what I've seen, it's like the 2024 version of that one. I know it's 2025 now, but this did come out last year, and I have just been really impressed with this one. I've loved the looks that I've created. It really inspires me to create more looks. I can definitely do something bright, fun, and colorful, or I can really kind of tone it down, do something a little bit more neutral. There's some ones and dones in here as far as the shimmers go, and I've really been impressed with it. It makes me excited to see what else she has in store with us from the brand, because so far I have loved everything that she has done. But that is going to complete this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Let me know if you picked up any of these palettes, which ones you have, which ones are your favorites, which would be your number one palette. I want to know it all. Let's have that conversation. Light up that comment section. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and spending your time with me. It truly does mean so much to me. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of all my future posts here on my channel. I do post quite a few videos every single week, and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye.